It's interesting to talk about leadership today in many regards because, there's been so many books written on it and so many speeches that have been given in its name and so many people that are expected to be sort of an example of it that you would think that we have it nailed. And the fact of the matter is we're awful at it. And if there's a word better than awful, we ought to use it. I mean, if you just look over your shoulder, whatever we're selling, nobody's buying. In unprecedented ways, 84% of people are looking for a new job, to fleeing their organization. 70% remain disengaged. And so what you find is that something's not working, and we have to do something different. And the difference might be, rather than thinking of leadership in difficult times, we ought to think about followership. And I think when you think about that way, you think about most leaders still have this notion that leadership is all about new calls to a better destination or proclamations to accountability. And so what they end up doing is they say something like, the trains have left the station, the ships have sailed for a new destination, and we've burned the docks, or we need to get the right people on the right seat of the bus. And all people end up doing as a result of that is laying low, staying out of sight, and not trying to do anything where they're noticed. And we don't get anything of what we really need. What we really need to start with also is our mindset of what causes people to change. I think we have this belief often as leaders that facts will cause people to change, or fear will cause people to change, or force will cause people to change. And I think all three of those really don't cause anybody to change. I mean, they cause people, again, to play it safe, which is the opposite of what we're looking for. In company after company, what we've talked about is that the strategy is not the problem. It's a fundamental disbelief that leaders will change their behaviors to bring them to life. And so this whole concept of creating a new hope, of creating a new thinking, and creating new skills is what I think leaders really ought to begin to think about from their followers' perspective, not from a traditional leader's perspective. So what new hope looks like, it looks like being vulnerable. It looks like going where it's uncomfortable as a leader to behave in ways that they're telling everybody else to, where they're a novice again. I think it also looks like being empathetic to your people. The first story we ought to tell our people if we want to create new hope is not where they need to go. It's that we understand how they feel, and we understand what it's like to be them. I think in creating new thinking, we've got to create a good picture of what the world around us looks like. And that model or that picture has to also have room for us to see how we fit into it. If the picture leaves us out, then all of a sudden we go back to really trying to protect and defend rather than build. And then I think the final thing is to create new skills. I think the new skills really, again, time and time again, are not the old skills. If we're going to innovate, if we're going to grow, we've got to find ways for people to recognize what it is like to fail forward, to create an environment where it's safe to experiment, to create the kind of conditions where people might be novices again or beginners, and those are difficult because they're absolutely uncommon to people that have been experts for many years. And so, if there's anything we can do from a followership standpoint to really engage the heads and hearts and minds of our followers, it's start first and foremost with an in-depth, uncanny understanding of what it's like to be them. And then what you expect them to do, you be that before they are. You go first, and don't wait for them to be the first one to take the steps to go where it's uncomfortable.